to our budget town hall. Tonight really is about making all of your voices heard, and we want to hear your budget priorities. So we're holding town halls now to get your feedback because we're going to be presenting a budget to the city council in July. That's our process. We present in July, then they have to review and pass it by mid-September. The city's budget year starts on October 1st and it runs through September 30th. There are 3 questions we ask ourselves when we look at each budget item. Will it bring the greatest return on investment for our citizens? That's the number 1 thing we ask. Will it support Jacksonville's fast growth? Will it improve the quality of life for everyone? So we have a very low cost of living and a very high quality of life in Jacksonville. We're focused on prioritizing the vital projects that deliver the best return. And many people are moving here because of that low cost of living and high quality of life. I know that's frustrating for some of you, but it is true. I think we had 17,000 people move to the area last year. What's that?
She said for clothes.
Yeah, for clothes. Yeah. Good luck with that one. The secret's out. The secret's out. But anyway, so and it's wonderful to see people appreciating what we have here. But we want to keep the quality of life high. So we invest in programs that make our residents healthier, happier, safer, and more prosperous. Want to talk about what we did earlier this year. We passed an agreement that will renovate our city-owned stadium and turn it into the stadium of the future. Hopefully the hiring of a new coach will make you feel a little bit better about that investment. But I'm also very proud of the fact that along with that, and the part, frankly, in which I played the greatest role as far as input of what I wanted to see there was the $300 million community benefits agreement. Mike Weinstein, my chief of staff, did an absolutely amazing job negotiating that deal on the stadium and the community benefits agreement, and I was the gnat that insisted that everything get done on deadline. News never started at 11:01 p.m. Right? So if you set a deadline, you need to keep it, and we did. So I'm really proud of that $300 million community benefits agreement. It's the largest in NFL history, and that makes generational investments into workforce development, affordable housing, and homelessness programs, and it's also it's going to complete our world-class riverfront parks too. They're all funded in that agreement. And you know, I don't know how many of you have been down to Tampa, but it was really those riverfront parks being activated that caused Tampa to take off. And I think it will do the same thing for our downtown. And I don't know how many of you go downtown. I hope you do these days. But I'll tell you, it is. If you're concerned about growth out here, one of the things you can help do is promote downtown. Listen, it's where we have room to grow. We have room to grow and where we want to attract a lot of young talent and companies and people to downtown. It is truly a place where we have the ability to add people. And I want folks to see the future of that. The riverfront parks are a very, very big part of that equation. Also, and I want to thank Dr. Joshi for this, the number of people without health insurance in Jacksonville, largely due to his efforts, they were reduced by 34%, the number of uninsured during our Get Covered Jacks campaign. Our HealthLink Jacks telehealth program for the uninsured has saved $1.1 million in ER costs and made 2,600 patient connections. So if you don't know about that, make sure you learn. Sunil and Lynn Sherman have done a masterful job of trying to create avenues for us to expand health care for people. Primary care is not expensive. What's expensive is when you get cancer, okay? So if we can provide more avenues where we can connect people with services that already exist, then we're spending less money, we're sending less people to the ER. And that's what all of this has been about. Get more people covered and then connect the uninsured to services that already exist in our city so they're not calling the ER every time they get sick. And that's been very successful so far. Our River City Readers program, that's been a huge success. We started that with a challenge of 300,000 minutes read for the year, and we're now at nearly 3 million minutes read across the city, which was an incredibly important initiative because literacy is so important. It's an economic development issue, it's a public safety issue, it's a quality of life issue for our entire city, and we need to get kids reading at that 3rd grade level, and we are getting there slowly but surely. The Emerald Trail. In partnership with JTA and Groundwork Jacks, we opened the first segment and we won the largest federal grant in our city's history, $147 million. This 30-mile trail is going to connect our historic neighborhoods to downtown and create new opportunities for small businesses, not to mention the health benefits there. Down payment assistance. We committed $2 million to the city's down payment assistance program, which helped 27 first-time home buyers close on a new home. 23 more families are in the process of closing now, and we hope to support another 30 to 40 individuals this year. Our police and fire, so important to our city. We finalized a historic union agreement with higher salaries and a return to a defined benefit pension for our first responders. Campaign, and it was incredibly important to them. And the more we talked, the more I realized that this was what they absolutely needed in order to recruit and retain the best talent. And so now we have this wonderful opportunity, and from what I've been told, recruitment is really off the charts these days since we've been able to do that. So I'm thrilled about that. Infrastructure and transportation. We met our annual target funding for critical infrastructure projects, including road construction, drainage, pedestrian crossings, and sidewalks. We are leveraging the work of our groundbreaking resilience plan to smartly invest in projects which will be able to withstand and redirect rising water, cool historically hot neighborhoods, and view trees as infrastructure, which add more than shade to a street. Public safety, once more on public safety, we continue to make the necessary investments that will keep our citizens safe and healthy. JFRD will see more than $28 million in construction of new fire stations, so their response times keep decreasing. And the other great thing about that is it dramatically reduces home insurance for people who haven't had a station that's near them. So it's really good to be able to expand and better these stations. This budget provides funding for up to 40 additional police officers as well on the streets. That's part of our plan to add 200 in 4 years. We have a large city, and we need to make sure that response times are what they should be. Affordable housing and homelessness, big issues for our city, twin crises. When it comes to making housing more affordable, Jacksonville will have nearly 4,000 new units completed by the end of 2025 because of our focus on addressing this challenge. The city has committed $2.5 million to launch JFRD's homeless outreach team and increase the number of beds in our area shelters. You know, I'm gonna have to put the glasses on tonight. I'm sorry, I'm having a tough time seeing my notes. I keep trying to pretend I'm 25, but it's okay. We have taken a collaborative approach to developing the countywide homeless outreach program by bringing all of our partners to the table, including JSO, JFRD, and our nonprofit shelters. We have a whole plan on how we can end for once and for all our homelessness issues. During the budget process, we proposed 2 programs which would have brought us closer to solving this double-sided crisis. The City Council Finance Committee cut our $10 million for homeless outreach to $1 million. Another investment we recommended was $10 million in seed money for an affordable housing fund that would have generated a $30 million matching commitment from the private sector, much of which was already committed. And it's my hope that we can get these investments reconsidered with your support. So call your city council person and say, let's invest in these things, because they're very important for us. We increased the number of Jacksonville small and emerging businesses by 30% and grew the number of contracts awarded to them by $22 million year over year. We're spending millions to attract new companies and create more good-paying jobs for our citizens. So, as you know, time is money with business. With major investments in people, process, and technology, we cut the time it takes for a permit to be marked as final to 40 days. It used to be 100. The city's new online permitting system, which was created in-house by Wanyoni and our team, has cut wait times for permit approvals by a third. Education, youth, and literacy. In addition to our River City Readers program, we're partnered with Duval County Public Schools on Show Up to Shine. That's a public education campaign to encourage school attendance. We committed $5.8 million to after-school literacy, artist, civic engagement, and work programs for youth. Our investment in pools ensured that we had the repairs and lifeguards in place to open all our city pools when only half were open the year before. And combined, these programs keep our youth engaged and on the path to a successful life, which reduces crime and strengthens our workforce. So now I want to go through a few things that are beaches specific, and then I promise I'm going to get to your questions or your comments. Major projects, Penman Road, complete streets. As you know, that is TBD in terms of investment based on the design process. I see that you have a meeting coming up. This is a project that we've partnered on with our beach cities to convert the existing roadway to a complete street by improving the safety of all users, including pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists along Penman Road from Beach Boulevard to Atlantic Boulevard. Conceptual plans were completed in Q4 of 2024. Final design plans will commence in February of 25. I'm looking forward to hearing how you're feeling about that process. Last year when I was here, you weren't feeling great about it, so I want to know if you feel like it's going any better now. Mayport Docks, Phase 1, cost $6.5 million. This project constructed boat docks along city-owned riverfront property in Mayport. The new docks will provide mooring areas for commercial fishing, research vessels, and recreational boats. The city will pursue agreements with local fishermen, shrimpers, charter fishing captains, etc., to utilize a portion of these docks in an effort to reactivate the working waterfront in Mayport. Construction began in April of 2022 and was completed in November of 2023. The dock has been opened for use by OSearch. Phase 2 is expected to start construction in the summer of next year. We're also working to complete Segment C of the Temugwin Trail and doing $11 million worth of improvements along 2nd Avenue roadway. In terms of beaches issues that I was told you all definitely wanted to cover, so I want to make sure I get to them. The waste fee. I am well aware of the concerns that beaches residents have when it comes to the trash fees. Jacksonville currently loans money from the general fund to cover the city's solid waste services. We've all talked about this ad nauseum, right? It's a loan because you already pay a local trash fee out here, so you don't want to be double taxed. I get that. This hole keeps growing by tens of millions of dollars each year, and it will rise to $500 million by 2031 if we don't do anything. It's an issue that needs to be addressed in some way. The can has really been kicked down the road for far too many years, and it gets more expensive to solve the longer we wait. So I really, truly appreciate the hard work the council has done on this. Councilman Carlucci has got a bill that is up for debate right now, and if that bill should pass as it's currently written, it looks good to me. They've had a lot of courage on this council to deal with an issue that they did not have anything to do with, starting. They're trying to solve a problem they had nothing to do with. And so many councils before them went, yeah, you know what, that might not be politically very, very exciting for me, so I'm going to pass on that. Well, they took the responsibility and they said, you know what, we're going to look at this because we need to. So I hope homelessness. While I mentioned our homelessness work earlier, I did want to give you an update on our collaborative efforts with the beach cities. We have met with each of our mayors, city managers, and police chiefs to learn more about each city's specific needs when it comes to homelessness. Keep in mind that your police departments are required by state law to enforce the ordinances on homeless camping. That aside, we have been discussing an interest in expanding the Homeward Bound program. That's a voluntary program that helps homeless individuals get back to their hometown. And I know a lot of people may have a bad feeling about this program. I've had people say that to me before, oh, you're just putting people on a bus and sending them. We have had people thank us for getting them out of abusive situations and getting them home. I have met more people than I would have imagined that have said they are grateful to be able to get home because they're in a bad situation. They don't want to be in here. So we are going to continue to look at that program, and we might be looking at expanding it. It helps them get home, and we're exploring with your city leadership how we can do that from a funding and organizational perspective, as well as how we can support in other ways. The JFRD PATH team, our countywide homeless outreach team, has been working 24/7 since November to connect homeless individuals with resources. If you happen to encounter someone in need of assistance, you can call 630-CITY, 630-2489 to report it. So far, they have only received 1 citizen report in Mayport and just 3 to the west of the ditch. That's it. With that in mind, let me take a moment to dispel any notion that you may have heard from anybody that the number of homeless individuals in encampments is 3 times what it was before. In our conversations with your police departments, we understand there may be some new faces and a slight increase, most likely from seasonal trends. Anyone who tells you that Jacksonville is deliberately pushing homeless people out to the beach is detached from reality. I just want to tell you that. That's not happening. Interlocal agreements. We're also looking into the interlocal agreements between the city of Jacksonville, Atlantic Beach, and Neptune Beach. We've been meeting with both cities and are working out a process to take a deeper dive on the agreement to look at what each city is providing and receiving in return. That was an offer we made at the beginning. We've been working on that since. Our initial discussions with Jacksonville Beach indicate that they are really not interested at this point in big changes right now. All right, that is about it for what I wanted to get into before, just to make sure you know where we are on some things. And now I want to leave the rest of this town hall up to you. So we've got folks out there with microphones, and if you will raise your hand,
Yes.
we will get to it. Please, like I said, please remember this is a budget town hall. So let's try to keep our discussion focused if we possibly can.
So, talk about numbers. No, I'm just kidding. So, just a couple of rules before we get started with Q&A. Please keep your questions concise. Do not give us a dissertation before you ask your question. There are a lot of people here. We want to make sure we give everybody ample time to get their questions asked and answered. Conversation is fine, but we really want to try and keep the back and forth down so that everyone can be heard. Okay? So, we have microphones back here.
The lovely Ellen Glasser has a microphone right there in the middle.
If you want to stand up front, Ellen, so you can see and they can see you. We're going to hold on to the microphones as much as we can so you can't usurp them from us. So, first question. Okay.
Hi, so glad you're here. Thank you for sharing your evening with us, and thank you for putting your glasses on. That made me feel myself. My name is Cindy Sadler. I'm a resident and homeowner in Muir Vista, which is a condo complex within the Harbortown community. I'm here representing a whole lot of folks from that area. We're really concerned about the Moody Shipyards development that was zoned or rezoned last summer. It is massively large, and we have all just become aware of just how large it is. And the traffic impact, the safety impact, the public safety impact for the local fire and police departments on that little two-lane service road under the ICW bridge is just not built for the amount of traffic that that complex will add to it. So we've got a lot of questions, not for tonight, of course, but our main focus right now is addressing the safety concerns.
I understand.
Traffic on that two-lane road.
Yeah, I am very well aware. As you may know, I live in Atlantic Beach, so I travel that road all the time. But I will say this: the developer is required to do a traffic study before anything happens out there, and required to come up, whatever that traffic study shows, is required to come up with solutions before anything can be put on that property. So I would encourage you to be very involved as that process goes forward. And I'll keep an eye on it, but that's the next step. They have to do a traffic survey to find out what is the impact on traffic, and then what will they do to address the safety concerns of that small access road that comes out of that area.
And my question is,
Hello?
hello, can you hear me? I'm Jeff Roby, I live in Jacksonville Beach. I recently went down San Pablo Road, and we spent $20 million to basically expand it from a 2-lane road to a 3-lane road with a very nice multi-purpose, non-restricted center lane for turning. The question is, why are we spending $20 million to reverse what's going to happen on Kendall Road, which already has a non-restricted lane in the middle that everyone uses, including the emergency department, every day or multiple times a day? Why are we going to take this road and deconstruct it and remove its utility? It has a tremendous amount of traffic that goes along it and very few accidents, with the exception of an accident at the forest, which I'll talk about how that occurred. But why are we taking $20 million and investing in it to devolve this road when we can spend $20 million somewhere else? And it's saving you money, and it keeps the utility of the road
Well, I think there are a lot of people, especially some of your local officials here that would argue to you that Pittman Road has been an unsafe road for a long time. So I see a lot more than one accident on that road. And that this has been something that really has been in discussion and designed for, gosh, we started talking about this when, in 2019? So there has been a tremendous amount of discussion and reworking of the plan. I'd like to hear from, Nina, are you involved in this? Who in this room is involved in that piece? If you could talk about what's the latest on that and why, where we are and why we are.
So my team is directly involved in the project, and so aside from operations, the LLC talked about for San Pablo Road, which was a JTA project. This one is, of course, Penman is a City of Jacksonville project. And so in addition to the operational issues, traffic issues, the goals on Penman Road include pedestrian and bicycle safety. So a big emphasis is to make sure that the facility works well, not just for cars. So that's number one. At some point, there was a decision to evaluate whether we were going to close off a lot of those medians, and as part of the coordination with the public, we have removed many of those median control areas so that those medians can be used for runway to access homes and other businesses on the corridor. So that part has been adjusted. However, we still have the roundabout, which is a very important part of the safety features of the project. So we're intending to address a number of safety features along the corridor.
Thanks, Nina. I'm never going to make everybody happy on Pittman Road, I know, but I do think that there's been a great deal of public engagement and input on this, and hopefully we will come up with something that will make most happy.
Next question.
Hi there.
Hi,
I'm Rick Harold. I live in Atlantic Beach.
good to see you.
And Sunday was a wonderful run that turns the corner right next to my house. So
Didn't Mayor Byland look great in pink hair, by the way? I thought, outstanding. I think you should keep it. I really do.
Notwithstanding your earlier slides about the waste fee and the interlocal agreement, there are things that affect particularly Atlantic Beach, which I know more about than the other beach cities, that are contained in the existing interlocal agreements that are not being fully funded by COJ back to Atlantic Beach. An example is beach lifeguards. The beach is owned by the county, not by the city of Atlantic Beach, but COJ only partially funds the Atlantic Beach lifeguards. Yet they fully fund the Hannah Park lifeguards and Talbot Island lifeguards, and maybe Jack's Beach, but not Atlantic Beach. There's a couple other aspects that COJ has not been funding to Atlantic Beach, like animal control, parks maintenance, parks and rec programs. And there's another aspect called tipping fees that were contained in both of the interlocal agreements that say that Atlantic Beach won't pay tipping fees, but our waste hauler, GFL, is in fact paying tipping fees or a dumping fee to the Trail Ridge landfill, which is owned by COJ. Those are a couple of things that need to be taken into account in your current budget plans, so that Atlantic Beach gets what we're supposed to have from the 82 and 95 interlocal.
Mayor Ford, are these things that we're discussing in terms of our ongoing discussions of?
Yes.
And that would that require a change in the interlocal agreement?
The question is, would it require a change? No, we could actually start using the existing interlocal agreement and right-size it there, but we are in discussion right now about doing an RFP and a study by a third-party entity so that it's not biased one way or the other, the city of Jacksonville, city of Atlantic Beach. So we'll be going through that process, but we really could go back to the existing interlocal agreement and be more accurate on what we're doing between the two cities.
Daryl, do you have anything you want to add to that in terms of Parks and Rec, or have I said everything that I can say about that? Okay. Daryl's like, thanks for putting me on the spot there, Mayor. Appreciate it. I just always want to make sure I'm giving you the most information I can. Okay, who's next? The man.
No, not much special. No, excuse me. Bill Gulliver.
You notice how much more trouble men have not grabbing that microphone?
Good point there. I want to make a comment that you alluded to Mayport docks and maybe expand on that a little bit. And I appreciate the attention the city has given and that you're giving to the Mayport community, particularly with commercial docks that will assure a return to commercial fishing, which is important to Mayport. But I also want to point out that the city owns 7 acres behind those that on that riverfront. And I would urge the city, both you and the council, to take a little harder look at the potential for developing it. I want to remind everybody here, and I'm sure many people don't know it, the city has $0 invested in those 7 acres. They didn't pay a dime for them. And I think Mayport has a tremendous opportunity in the future to be a real place to go for the entire area, not just the beaches. So any attention you can give in the direction of developing Mayport, and I think it can be done fairly inexpensively, especially if we can locate the right developer or developers. So,
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm Michael Green, I live on San Pablo, I don't know if I'm allowed to be here. But anyway, a lot of the residents come across on San Pablo, and they removed the 2 lanes that funnel into the other side of the San Pablo between Beach, and the traffic backs up over from JTB to Beach Boulevard at rush hour. So that there used to be 2 lanes that went across. And now they removed the right-hand lane, so it's a continuous lane to go to the beach, on Beach Boulevard. But now it backs up, and I ride my bicycle, so that's my second question, is all the storm drains are plugged with pine needles, and all the water covers, they're all broken, and it's covered, there's cones.
Okay.
And a lot of kids use that, and I live in Marina San Pablo, and go all the way to Planet Fitness. So I see all the traffic that's happening there, especially at rush hour. Somebody should really pay attention because everybody's backing up, and now we have a crazy interchange underneath JTV. So the amount of accidents that have happened there. But I'm just saying, if you look at it, between from Mayo all the way to Beach Boulevard, everybody lines up because they live on the other side of the road. It's going to go to a single lane.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just something that you should look at.
Well, is that something we have any control over, Nina?
We'll get with him to find the exact locations, and we'll talk about how the traffic engineering group.
And in terms of the storm drains, that should be something we could look at, right? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
My name is Bill Mitchell.
Hey, Bill.
I'm partly off Cindy's question with the traffic study over the Family Project. If the Route project wasn't even going on, we still had a separate issue over there under the bridge. I'm not sure if you're the right person to talk to about this, but we have so much trash, people dump stuff there. Fishermen come there, they park there, it's kind of dangerous to get through. There's no sidewalks. We can have sidewalks on the Mira Vista, on Harbor Town side, they stop. Who would we go to get sidewalks all the way around, light it up? We have a lot of people like to jog, walk under there. We get homelessness, they get up under the bridge and like to camp out. I personally called GSO quite a few times. They do come out, get them, they do reappear. So if we could get signage in there, better fencing, sidewalks all the way around and clean it up under there, make it safer, brighter, and people would feel threatened to go under there, especially women. Women like to jog out there, and we have tons of people like that.
You know, lighting is an issue all over our city. And, you know, we've talked about that in many locations like that, and I agree with you. I mean, I think there needs to be more lighting. And as far as the sidewalks go, is that us? Is it the state? Is it?
I'm not sure exactly where the.
It's underneath, it's
It's On the west side of the Atlantic Bridge,
Yeah.
Atlantic Boulevard Bridge, it would be in the system.
That would be
DOT.
That's what we're curious, that's something you mentioned, the city.
Well, we have to, see, this is where we end up having so many problems. Like, we have spent so much more money getting our blight and trash and grass cutting teams out. But there are dividing lines between what the city of Jacksonville can do and what the state is responsible for. And so we have to make a request for them to do anything that we are not supposed to do. And so we have, I'm gonna be honest, I mean, there are issues with that. We have piles of trash all over the city. It's not always the state's fault, but I mean, we are trying very hard to get those cleaned up. As far as the lighting goes, I agree with you. I'd be willing to go to the state and talk to them about that. I think it's probably an important issue.
Well, when you mentioned that, the developer would have to, initiate the traffic study.
Maybe that's one of the things
Should
that
be go.
I think it's a great idea. I think at this point, I think your move should be to ask for everything that you want. Yes. As they're building out that place, ask for everything you want. And I think you've got a great chance while they're in the process of wanting to make everybody feel good about that, to say yes to a lot of things.
Thank you.
Sure.
Understand they have sold the Hodges property to the south of JTV, and they're gonna build a development from Kerman all the way to San Pablo. Is there gonna be an impact study that's gonna show the impact? Because I used to do her hair, so I found the skinny, they just sold the property to a developer. So there's gonna be another parallel development going all along JTV.
JTV.
You know where they had the corner on that property?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be developing all the way to Kerman.
Okay. Well, a lot of these things, I know not the one you're talking about, but a lot of these things that were zoned a long time ago that people can do that. So I think the issue is you gotta put them through their paces in terms of the impact. And then you gotta make a lot of noise if you don't like what they're doing.
Mayor Deegan, staff and neighbors, my name is David Deal. I live at Water's Edge community. It's in the harbor town next to the first questioner's development, Mira Vista. And I'm also concerned about that high-density development that's about to start construction work there. The developers came, were trying to send a representative to our neighborhood and talk with us, and their attitude was like, this is all approved in 2008, you can't do anything. And my concern is that it's FDOT that really controls the traffic coming off of that bridge, and for the people on the beaches community and in a hurricane situation or storms or evacuation for any reason, I think it's going to be a major problem if there's no real access beyond cars jamming the road there. And further, in hearing from the developer, there's a huge underground polluted area that's got like some, they said fresh fill on top of it, some kind of a fabric layer. But if they're going to be building on top of that, it would seem like it would make a lot more sense to remove the toxic compounds before they do the work rather than after they put a bunch of new buildings on it. It would cost a fortune to remove. And there's, in the waterway, the San Pablo River, there's marine mammals, porpoises, manatees, there's all kinds of, nature that we love in this community, and that's why people move here. And I'm concerned about the implications of the pollution being mobilized into the groundwater, into the area, and into the surface waters. And it would seem like the city should put some resources into monitoring the environmental considerations, coordinating with the state and federal government on that before, disaster occurs. And the groundwater also affects all of us, except that people have drinking water or, sprinkler systems and other types of things that bring it up. So is there any effort by the government to coordinate with other governmental agencies and invest your own money to make sure that the developer-funded study really is telling you what you need to know about what the traffic implications of this high-density, multi-function development is going to be with a big storage facility and all kinds of different aspects to it. They want to keep it flexible for their own purposes and increase the density as much as they can, but it seems like we need to speak up about it and get some local resources to make sure what they're doing is in the interest of our community.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm taking notes on everything you're saying tonight, and if you want to leave your name and your information, we'll make sure we follow back up with you. I don't know, Nina, I don't know who will that be?
I've asked for it, Jay.
Brett, okay.
Come and talk about the
Okay.
site.
Well, did you hear the specific concern, Brett? What's that? Okay, all right, that's fine. The people might be interested, but that's, you know. Yeah, correct.
I live on Hodges near JTB, and they've done traffic studies. And the traffic is far worse than we could ever imagine. And they get a new lane, and they added some arrows and some weird combination of some lights. And it took me,
It's very confusing.
well, not that, but everybody blocks up. So now I have to start in Jacksonville saying, don't block blocks because it's blocked for miles.
Nina, the question, I'm sorry, the reason I'm coming to you is because her last comment was, we don't know who to call, and I don't want anybody leaving here tonight not knowing how we're gonna follow up on the question. So she's concerned about, the traffic at JTB and Hodges. But the specific issue that you want addressed is what?
Well,
The new traffic light
the new
there?
traffic light is making things worse, along with the new, lines on, we got a new, lane like we asked for the traffic lights, and the lanes don't match.
That project at JTB was done by DOT. However, I would be very glad to connect you if I'll leave you my information, and we'll make sure that you get to the right person within traffic operations at DOT.
Well, Nina is a superwoman, by the way. She knows everything, but I lean on her pretty heavily because she knows all.
I'm sorry, you've already got your chance. Well, you can do a sidebar, we have another person.
Hi, I'm Hannah Moore.
Hey,
Nice to see you.
Great to see you.
I'm really interested in cost-benefit analysis around solar and other mitigating heat islands and the things that you mentioned in your report. I wondered if you're doing cost-benefit analysis on having our public buildings and our new affordable housing developments to integrate that kind of technology.
We are always thinking about those things in this city. We just came out with our 50-year resilience plan. A lot of that is geared toward how we're going to deal with rising water, but also what can we do to reduce heat islands? What can we do to reduce the heat in neighborhoods that are 15 or 20 degrees hotter than other neighborhoods? And it always comes down to anything between trees and solar and green roofs. And in fact, we're talking right now about where we can put green roofs on some city buildings to see if we can help with electric costs and all those things. We recently received almost a $3 million grant for, I forget how many chargers were associated with that. Several hundred, I believe, electric chargers around the city, which is another thing we want to expand because we're right on the interstate. I'm not sure what the status of that is right now, but we're still hopeful that we're going to receive it. But yes, absolutely. That is always in process between Ann Colanesi, our resilience director, and Ashante Green, who handles sustainability for us. We're constantly working on those things.
Well, what do you think? My only question for you is, you mentioned earlier the waste fee, but you said that Councilman Carlucci was bringing back up a debate in the City Hall. My only question for you was, is this bill different in any way from the one that you vetoed a couple weeks ago?
Oh, this doesn't have anything to do with what I vetoed a couple weeks ago. So let me explain that, if there's any confusion about that. There was a bill that was passed that we had a waste hauler that we had, who's done a great job, that we had reached a contract with, that we had agreed to an amount we would pay them, and an escalator past that amount. And they came back and asked for more than triple that amount. They came to the city said no, they went to council, which from what my general counsel told me, was not legal, and they got it passed. And so I vetoed the bill, and the general counsel said, in fact, it was not legal to do that. So that is simply a matter of executive branch versus legislative branch, but also what I determined to be a fiscally, frankly, responsible move. Because if a company says they're going to provide a service and they agree to a contract and an escalator in that contract, they should provide that service. So that was simply my view on that. This has nothing to do with that. We have been for years and years, for 15 years, we've had our garbage fee at the city of Jacksonville at $12, okay? It costs $33 for that service. So every year, somebody brings it up on council for as long as I can remember, and 90% of the time the council says, yeah, we don't want to deal with that because it's a fee, I know, but people are going to say we're raising their taxes, and that's just it. At some point, you got to pay your bills. And so what the council has done is they, at the very least, very responsibly have debated this problem. And I think that that's admirable. So if they come up with a solution, and what it looks like we have right now is a stepped-up approach to try to get to where we can actually pay for that service instead of being $100 million in the hole, then that's something that I would support. And there, by the way, there is a separate piece of legislation that goes along with that bill that would exempt people that I believe are at 150% of poverty. So they would still be able to pay the $12 as opposed to that's my recollection. If I'm wrong about that, please have a city council person correct me, but that's what I think is the bill in its current form.
Do we have any other questions?
Here, right here.
Okay.
Hello, I was wondering if, am I doing it right now? About the status of replacing all the septic systems in all of Duval County and what the status and priorities are for them.
Yeah, that's always been a top priority for me. The first day I came in the building, I talked with JEA and I said, why are we not moving faster on this? And they took me through the process that it actually takes to get into a neighborhood and to actually clear out these things and get it done. And we frankly have picked up the pace, but we are it'll never be fast enough for me, but we have started with the high priority septic tanks, the ones that are actually seeping into the water and are causing a problem. But we are working very hard to remove them as fast as we can. I will say that the thing that sort of, I wish we weren't doing is there are some areas of the city where we're still using septic tanks in building when we're way out where we don't have service. So that's a bit of a drag to me. That's something that we decided a while back. But in my mind, we need to get away from septic tanks altogether if we can. But we're working as fast as we can to get them out of there. As fast as we can.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions, please?
This gentleman right there's a bunch. You're just, we'll get to everybody. Don't worry, we got plenty of time.
Hey there, I just add on a couple neighborhoods that are coming up in 17 removal. So we just finished Biltmore neighborhood in Beverly Hills West, and Christabel is underway, and Riverview is currently in outreach phase. Those are the priority neighborhoods right now that we've 17 removal done. So I think we're a little further west north from here.
Really important environmental issue though, in addition to other things.
I saw.
My name is Ralph Jansen. I live out in Mandarin, and we talk about needing to pay our bills. Could, in this next budget, we stop being so cavalier with grant money to developers? A primary example is the Rise Doro Apartments. The Rise Doro Apartments was a $60 million project that in 2019, the city gave them roughly $5.6 million. And then to rebuild, we just gave them another $11 million in grants, another $5 million in tax subsidies. So we have, as a taxpayer, we have $20 million in a $60 million apartment complex that nobody in this room is going to live to see the benefits of.
Well, I'm gonna only argue with the use of the word cavalier. I don't try to do anything in a cavalier way, but let me just tell you why I think it's a good investment. Maybe that's the best way to argue to you. I have believed for many, many years, and have been frustrated, not only as a Beaches resident, but as a fan of my city, that we take one step forward and two steps back in downtown all the time. We have invested so much money only to watch it go down the toilet year after year after year. And with any business, and people keep telling me you gotta run the city like a business, what's the first thing you gotta do?
Cost analysis.
You gotta invest in that business. If you don't invest, you're not gonna get a return. And my belief, my strong belief, is that if we can make that area, and we are getting very quickly to the point where we're not gonna have to do all those incentives, because we've got so many people wanting to come downtown now. But that is an area right next to our entertainment district that we don't want to be an eyesore, and we do want people living in it. So there are some things that need to be a priority. My belief when I came into this office was people are tired of no movement. They're tired of nothing happening. I was tired of, my kid moved to Tampa, I just got her back. And I'm like, if we have a thriving downtown, it will allow us to have the income that we need to invest in the whole rest of this city, because we want to keep taxes low. If everything doesn't happen by magic in a city, you got to have money to invest in the quality of life issues. So I asked you this question when I came into office. What kind of city do you want? And that is the question we have to answer. And if we want a city with a good quality of life, we have to invest in the things that are going to bring us the greatest return. And I believe the Doro is one of those things. That is my belief.
But you said come to Jacksonville. Yes, if you read the Jacksonville Business Journal, just like the developer that just bought the Bank of America building. The last part of his comment is, Jacksonville knows what it wants and is willing to give us the money to do the things.
Because we've got to reach a combustion point where we've got enough going on that everything just starts to go. And we've never, ever invested for long enough and with enough intention to make it happen. And now we are. And if you drive down to downtown, I know y'all don't like crossing the ditch. If you drive to downtown, what you're going to see is a bunch of cranes in the air. So not only have we started work on the stadium, we've got the Four Seasons going up, we've got all the riverfront parks going up, we've got development going up on the Pearl Square district that's in a part of downtown that's been neglected for years. This is all stuff that once you reach a point to where enough is going on at once, you're not going to have to continue to do that. We're not there yet. We have to continue to invest, and I promise you, I believe with all my heart at the very least, that we are going to see a great return on that investment. But thank you for your time.
There. I'll also add, everybody, Josh Banks, Affordable Housing Director for the city. I'll also add $5 million of the new money going to the Doro project is to add workforce housing to that project. Originally, that workforce housing was not part, it was all market rate. With the additional $5 million investment, we're getting a significant amount of units to go towards workforce housing at between 110 and 120% AMI. That's our first responders, our police officers, our teachers.
Yeah.
Exactly, in their first years, they need that type of housing. Jacksonville needs that housing. So it is a return on investment because of that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us tonight. I applaud the fact that you're looking at right-sizing the garbage fees for the residents of the city of Jacksonville. That's the first step. It's not right. But then the next step is to pay down that debt to the general fund. And
That's right.
I don't know that you said how you said it would approach $500 million in 10 years, but what is it today?
It's $100 million.
$100 million. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but it grows quickly.
Right. So, as a representative of the beaches, in particular Atlantic Beach, can you assure us that you'll at least keep our interests in mind on the repayment of the debt that we did not contribute to?
Absolutely. That's the to me it is absolutely imperative that we keep that in mind. But that's why we're looking at this, at least from what I understand, this stepped approach. And I think by the time you get to step 3, you're actually starting to repay that.
Okay, thank you.
It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it will get there. Mike, did you want to add something? Give Mike a microphone. Come up here.
Thank you. Mike Weinstein, every year, the way this works is, as the mayor said, the revenue that comes in from the fees doesn't cover the total cost. The city basically loans to the waste system to cover that. But it's basically internal money. Basically, the deficit that the waste business, basically within government, owes to the city government is all contained in city government. So there's no money that's going to change at the end. Basically, we would be just paying ourselves back. We would be taking money from one account to another account. So at the end, once the fees reach the level to pay for the service, there'll be no more loans. Basically, what we do, every year we loan to the waste system an amount of money to cover the deficit. The following year, we give the waste system enough money to pay us back, literally, and then loan them another money for the deficit. It's all internal accounting, and it's all city money. It comes from the general fund to the waste system back to the general fund. So at the end of this, I'm sorry, I should everybody. At the end of this, yes, the waste system owes the city money, but the city is also the waste system. You know what I mean? It's just a part of the city government. So there'll be no payback from the beaches. There'll be no payback from anywhere else. We'll just discontinue to loan money to ourselves to pay for the waste hauling. So to your point, there'll be no money from the beaches or anyone else to cover the costs year in and year out. We pay ourselves back every year. We give the waste system enough money to pay us back. And then we loan them enough money the next year to cover the deficit.
It's a crazy system. It's a crazy, crazy system.
It's what you call a shell game.
That's exactly, I was going to say it, but I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
I have a question. Over here.
Hi, I'm a Jack Beach resident. I have two questions for you. One about Linden Road. I went to several of the meetings and the updates, and they showed these beautiful renderings. And I asked about drainage, and I know drainage is very important. When Linden is done in the Jack Beach section, will we still have ditches? Will we still have swells? That's question number one. Question number two, thank you again for being here tonight. As a resident of Jack Beach, when we pay property taxes, we pay more than our fair share to the coffers. Can you better explain to me why the homeless programs you created, PATH, and both JSO's Homeward Bound, we send our money across the ditch? Why are those services not coming back off our dollars?
We are in discussions about that right now to see if we can expand those services. Okay? We're in discussions with the beaches right now. Did you want to answer the,
So, sir, yes, we expect a good portion of the ditches that are out there now to be able to accommodate stormwater within ditches, again, for a good portion of the roadway. There will be some isolated areas where we may curb and gutter some of it to capture some of that stormwater, but in general, they will be open swales.
so just to further try to answer your other question, these are agreements that we make with each of the beaches communities, right? And so we are, currently, those services are not within those agreements. So we're talking about whether we want to include those services in those agreements.
So we send our dollar across.
Well, it's not just that simple though. It really isn't.
I mean, I think, and just to give an example, I don't want to say the beaches are always shorter. You have 6 meetings, correct? This is the only one that's an hour. All the rest of them are an hour and a half.
No, this is an hour.
Oh, okay, I apologize. On your website, it has it listed for 1 hour.
It's because that's your Beaches Watch meeting, but we took over your Beaches Watch meeting and added a half hour to it. So I'm here as long as you have questions.
Little things like that, you know.
No, but listen, I get it. I get it. I'm from the beach. I know everybody out here feels like we always get shorted. I get that. But once you get in and you're looking at the whole picture, it is not quite that simple. So that's why we're having discussions. That's why I invited the beaches communities to come in and let's relook at everything and see what we need to do to make it better. I want folks out here to be happy with the services they are getting. But there's a lot that goes into all that. And sometimes, you know, I know that the last time I spoke with Mayor Hoffman, she wasn't particularly excited about relooking at the interlocal agreement, but we are looking to see if we can expand the Homeward Bound program at the very least. So we'll look at it. Go, Ellen, go. Ellen's getting her steps in today.
Hi, thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you.
Mike Stagg, I live in Jacksonville Beach, and I was in a discussion with our police chief. Each year, Beaches Watch hosts the 3 police chiefs to give kind of a state of the beaches. It's usually right after 4th of July, you know what 4th of July is like down here. But they brought up a couple of interesting things, that 90% of our calls for service for the police department are for people that don't live here. And we are paying for all of that. I'm thinking that, you know, when somebody comes as a tourist or a resident from elsewhere, that the city benefits. I'm talking about Jacksonville. The city benefits.
Don't you guys get support from JSO also?
When they call for it. When they call for it. You know, there's a pride thing too. All our beaches, police departments do an incredible job. But, you know, occasionally you hear that thing on the national news, somebody shot in Jacksonville Beach at some flash mob thing, and we can just get overwhelmed. And JSO really helps out, from what I've been told by all the chiefs. Anytime they call for help, they're there. But I'm thinking that from the city standpoint, maybe we could use a few more resources to help beef up some of our, not just the police, I'm talking about crowd control, infrastructure stuff for the tourists that come here and impact all the residents of the beach.
Yeah, I'm obviously always disheartened when I hear things like that as well. Anytime you end up with a large group of people in a small area with alcohol, there are going to be problems. And that's the case on the 4th of July, and it's the case anytime you have a big celebration out at the beaches. But I think on those occasions, you very often do have support from JSO, but I'm certainly happy to look at other resources as well. I'm not opposed to that at all. I just, you know, I don't want Jacksonville Beach to ever be mentioned in the same breath as something like that. I mean, not any of our beaches, but it is something that is very disheartening, I agree.